Yo, we should be live for our live every Friday. I'm waiting for it to come on because I'm sure you want to hear about some failures. You want to hear about some failures? You want to hear about some successes? Look, I got them for you. I'm just pulling everything up, getting everything situated because we should be live, y'all. We should be live. But let me make sure that we live because sometimes the technology don't be going. But it says we are live on the channel. I just don't see it on this end. So I got to go back to a different window. We're gonna keep going because it says I'm live. It says that I'm live. So let's go. Um, so now want to make sure that it's working. Okay, it says my team says we're good to go. We are good to go. Just want to make sure for the folks that are out there, if you want to go ahead and send a text or a comment, I should say not text, a comment. I'm just looking right here on one monitor. I have another monitor right here. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? I just want to make sure you can hear me okay because we having some technical difficulties. Go figure, right? And my technical difficulties, which I want to show you, is that, um, which is kind of funny, right? Can you let me put it in there? Can you hear me? Okay. Look, my mic is still not working. My mic is still not working, so I had to use my headset. So I'm just gonna move this out so you can see like I'm not even using it. I hope I think my mic's okay. I don't know if it's my USB port. I don't know what's going on, but it's like it's not working the way I want it to work. But um, I wanted to tell you about the things that I've been working on, and I'm like, oh shoot, hold on, let me close my door. Look, it's been kind of cray like that. Hold on. So as I'm closing my door, there's the three things we talked about yesterday or last week, and there's four things I want to talk to you about this week. And the four things that let me just start off from yesterday or from last week is understanding your audience, two, navigating social media platforms and following up. I talked about that on the last live, and you don't have to go watch that if you don't want to watch that. That's perfectly okay. I want to talk to you about the four things that I want to talk to you today, which is number one, mentality of being where you're celebrated, not tolerated. That's a Eric Thomas saying, Dr. Eric Thomas. Number two, my week have been the introduction to school and the connected trust. So putting that out there. That's number two, which is the connected trust is my nonprofit. The board meeting I had for the connected trust, and then I have a conference that I'm putting on for November 13th. And the last one, number four, is updating my SEO. So, I can tell you some failures and some successes. So, we'll start with what went wrong. What went wrong, I'm going to say, starting with number one, is the mentality that I have allowed myself to just accept mediocrity in some areas, not all areas, some areas of my life as if it's okay. And I don't know if you've kind of been in this situation. I know we all have like this period of time where we just feel bad for ourselves, so we want other people to feel bad for ourselves. And Dr. Eric Thomas, there's a mixtape that he does. It says like you need to go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And I'm starting off with that just because I remember when I was at the college and I was running the entrepreneur program. And when I was running the entrepreneur program, I was like on top of the world. I was feeling good and I was excited, yet they weren't paying me. And I was like, it's okay. I'm going to show you the value. I'm going to show you that you can do it. I'm going to show you that it's worthy. And I remember the college president, rest in peace, Bob Knight. Um, he we were in a meeting, him, the number two, and somebody else that were like the top leaders for the he was the president. um Another person was the VP of academic affairs, Tim Cook, and I forgot the guy that was over the for-profit side of the college, Kevin something. And I was like, hey, I want to do this little mini Silicon Valley thing here at the campus, and he was like, just as long as it doesn't cost the college any money, we can move forward. I'm like, hey, absolutely, I got you on that. I'll show you. We can produce this, right? Well, then he comes back like, what do you mean, Silicon Valley? What's that? And right there should have been a clue of like, you don't know Silicon Valley, like you don't know anything that I'm talking about, Silicon Valley. That should have been like a red flag, like not even a red flag, but a red banner of like, this is not for me. But I stay again the mentality of being where you're celebrated, not tolerated. And he didn't know any better, so I should have like got a clue of like, Nathan, this ain't gonna work. Long story short, it didn't end up working, and there were people there that were running to write checks, and it didn't work out because I wasn't celebrated. So this week has been the bad part for me is working through the mentality of like, Nathan, it just go where you will get by. I'm tired of getting by. So for those folks that are out there, especially if you're listening to me now, you found this video and you just been getting by. It's because you have absorbed, you have adopted, you have embraced the mentality just to get by. And that's just not good enough. You have to put yourself in the position to where you will win, you will dominate, not because you're comparing yourself to somebody else, but you're going to win because that's what you do. That's who you are. And you're not comparing yourself like, I'm going to be the best because I'm going to be better than them. No, it's about you. You're focusing on you as you watch my golf videos. I'm garbage at golf, but I'm trying to get better for me. And at times I do pretty good. So in this week, I made some really good progress with clientele, made progress with my nonprofit, the Connected Trust. And so school, SKOOL. And I'll put in the chat for those that want to check it out in case you haven't seen it. But here's where you probably have heard of one very famous marketer who's a co-founder to school. You can go to school.com. I'll put in the chats. It's I'm not putting my information out there just yet. If you want to, you can ask for it and I'll hit you up. But school.com, this is where I'm building up my community because my community of first it was clientele, now it's just other businesses that are like-minded, who are great people. And I started this conference 5 years ago. And I started this conference because I was tired of trying to find all my clientele times to meet with my other clientele. And I'm like, y'all need to know each other. You're phenomenal people. You have a good heart. You have a good head. You're extremely smart. And the work, if y'all just combine forces, the force you could be and what you could do. And so that's why I started the conference. But then people were like, hey, I want more. I can do more. And so a couple of things that I did was I created the school account for the Connected Trust. If you really want to go in there, let me know. I can give you access to it. And I probably will put it on the description here in a couple of weeks, or definitely in a couple of months as we go through the conference on November 13th. Because I'm working out some bugs, and the Connected Trust has received great amount of support. And as I go back to number one, the mentality of being where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated, I've had to embrace that for that as well. Because one of the biggest things that I'm seeing of where like, the funk that I've been in is me only doing things focused on local. Local is great and all, that's like the word of mouth and everything. But when I said last week, when you're understanding your audience and going through your social media platforms and following up with people, it can only take you so far. When we use these things, you can go wherever in the world and people will be able to resonate, understand, and you can get a lot further. Not to say that's the preferred method or modality. We in the college, when we went into the pandemic, everybody was forced to go into that. But even though folks didn't want to do that, they had to. We had no other choice. But I already was teaching my business classes all online, and it wasn't like it needed to be hybrid. I just thought it was most impactful, and I would say respectful to the student because we don't I didn't know what was going on with the student before the pandemic, so I didn't want to be like, you always have to do it my way. This was more a respect of you figure out what's going to work best for you. So when it comes to the business side of things, you know, we use these for everything. And it's always funny when I had this one client who said, Nathan, I don't need a website. I can use Facebook. And Facebook has all the people I want there. Then they post pictures. I can put my menu there. And I'm like, okay, okay, well, you can come find me when you want to try something different. And they were like, yeah, it's great. You know, we can go live and do our karaoke and our karaoke. A lot of people like that, and people see it on Facebook. Well, what do you know? What happened with Facebook during that time? The servers went down. The servers were down. Oh my gosh, my like hold on, like how can I communicate with my people? Well, it doesn't happen when you have your own website. I mean, it can, your server can go down when you have your own website, but you're not at that point where you have lost everything. At least with the website, you have files that you backed up. And what I was finding in pre-pandemic, I was trying to convince people to have a website. Well, I don't need to convince anyone to have a website when the pandemic hit. It was just obvious. So understanding your audience, where I'm trying to say local and be the community person, and I just realized, man, I have an audience that can go digital as well. I'm just not trying to be on one platform, which is in person. I'm trying to go all over the place. So when I put in school, that's not just for the nonprofit, that's for my businesses as well. So and I should also say, for those that are watching, if you want to put in any chat, or I'm sorry, question in the chat, please do so. I'd be more than happy and honored to answer your question. Because when I had my board meeting this week, unfortunately, not we didn't have full attendance, but we did have quorum. We got some stuff done, and when people were talking about the conference, I was happy to report back that people are excited about the conference because the Let's Connect conference are bringing people together, and school will allow me to bring people together online and not in the same way, but we can continue the conversation. And as an entrepreneur, what's really hard is that sometimes you don't get to see the fruits of your labor until much later on. And you have to wrestle with that warfare with yourself of, I'm putting in the work, but I'm not seeing the results. So you have to focus more on the process than you are the destination. But that destination, with the employee mindset, that destination, man, is like getting done with the day, then getting the paycheck. And you don't always get that. And so with entrepreneurship, so you got to trust in the process and believe what you're doing is working. And what's been working is I'm having people buy tickets. When it comes to early bird, we're getting sponsorships. We're getting people to get excited about the conference, which I'll put in the conference for those that don't know and are looking for, like, Nathan, okay, you keep talking about this conference. What is it? I'll put it in the chat so you can see it. You go to Let's Connect pnw.com. And again, this was specifically designed for my clients that didn't know about each other, that didn't know about the work that we did. We get so focused in building our our company and our value proposition. Sometimes we just because the work is just a lot, we're wearing a lot of different hats, we fail to look up to say, oh, this is a person that can help me, this person can do this first, this person can take the reins, and I can delegate and I can collaborate. And then I actually, with those people, they help me get more clientele, they help me get more customers. So one of the things that I will say that I've been just kind of just reflecting back, coming back to the number one thing, as I've been saying, the mentality of embracing you as in what you are doing. And I think what I've done, especially in this last couple of years, I've had to evaluate myself not against others, but against myself. And when I have done that, it's been hard, and I'm gonna, keep it real. Like, and when my mom died, that made me really think through a lot of ways that I was once evaluating myself against others. And now, as I'm evaluating myself against me, I'm like, why not celebrate my accomplishments? Why not begin to help people understand that when you are authentically yourself, you have so much more to give. And when you have that peace, man, it feels so much better. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, and I don't see any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to put it out there. Is, as you see, I'm playing the video from our last podcast. I've been updating my SEO, and one of the beautiful things about when you update your SEO is you start seeing more results, and the results are coming not immediate, because we are in a place right now between AI and algorithms changing on all platforms. People are figuring it out. And it wasn't like it was like you do this on one thing, you do this on another platform, and it will grow, right? As I was telling you from last week on the social media platforms, I was on TikTok, I was doing lives, I was doing some more lives, not me going live, but me jumping on lives, and then just understanding how the platform works. Is I'm understanding how Google is starting to work. I'm understanding now how YouTube is working, and it's not about serving the masses. It's about serving the niche. I'm about serving you as a viewer. I don't want to serve everybody. I used to, because I'm like, if I could get $5 from everybody, you know how much money that would be? Instead of saying, what if I just serve them in a way that makes the most sense, and I can offer them this, and when they're ready to be done with this, I can move from this, or they want to stay here, we have this and we have that, and guess what? We have this over here, and they can continue to come back, rather than just saying it's a one-time thing that I can serve everybody. I want to develop relationships, because it's not about the transaction. When I bring someone into my company, it's it's a great feeling, because I feel like they're family. And so as I'm updating my SEO, from the meta titles, the descriptions, the keywords, all that kind of hardcore stuff, I realized that part of my failure in the mentality of just thinking like I just want to get by. No, I want to be the best that I can be, and hopefully you're thinking that as well. Because when you are the best that you can be, you start to humble yourself and say like, I can improve here, I can improve there. There's some things that when I'm following up with here, I'll show you. Matter of fact, I kind of talked about this in one of my first lives, but and my book that I used in when I was going into uh I don't want to call them prisons, because they are detention facilities for young boys when they're minors, and I would go into um let me back up, because I'm gonna mess up the whole entire story. I'm not gonna say this right. So, and let me get the real book, because the real book started this all, but I was having problems with getting the book. And so, this was the book that I used to start my nonprofit program called Dream Big 101. The author, his name's Kevin Carroll. I don't know if I have a picture of him in this book. I'm sure there is, but I'm not going to look for it extensively. But his name was Kevin Carroll. I met him when I was working at Nike, and I was using this book, and I created a 5-week course, and it was awesome. No, I think it was 6 weeks. And I was getting the book, and the book is like, I think it was like $25. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this is expensive. But we did a book fundraiser, and we got it in the hands. And if you look real close, like this has a different texture. And so in this texture, it's funny, kids, I took this into high schools, and kids will just rub this off. And I've seen some books where this has been completely removed off. And when I was going through all my books, and I had hundreds of these things, we all sold out. I'm like, okay, I need another round of 100, but then we ran out. I was like, okay, what we were gonna do? I was like, let me wait for them. But when I was going into the youth camps, that's what they call them, boy detention camps. What was the issue became more not about the book or the back order. Is just this is a hard. I don't want to. bend it, but this is it's hard. It's hard. And so they said we can't have those books. I'm like, okay, well, I can create a book with the spiral. You can't have spiral books. And I was like, oh, so we needed a book that can bend, that wasn't basically going to be a weapon or anything that can hurt, harm anyone. So I was like, well, let me create a book that would be real easy and simple. This is the last book that I had, and I gave it to my son, and he kind of left it, but he kind of wrote things in here. And the book obviously is called Scared to Be Me. And what's funny is this was my nonprofit. I was helping students identify their their I would just say their belief systems at the core. Like, why were they scared to do the things that they should have done because they were in this bad situation, right? How could I help them gain the confidence they need to put themselves on the right track and not have them make the last worst decision of their life? One of my very first kids that I had as a mentor, I was mentoring him in the youth detention camp, and then he was out for about 6 months, and unfortunately, he made a bad decision and it put him in the adult facility, and that was the last time I heard from him, which was unfortunate. But you can't babysit people, and people have to make their own decisions. And so I always was saying, like, what would be the decisions you can make today that will also impact you for the next day and the next day after that. And it just kind of came back to like, what were you scared to do? Because sometimes it was peer pressure, it was not standing up to, say, bullies, sometimes it was parents. That's why when you go back to the Will Smith book that I talked about, man, and the podcast, then a slap happened. I saw man, I'm like, okay. But sometimes we have these things that we're just scared. And so now I wear be you, not scared to be me. It's like be you, because when I'm helping my clients, I say, I need you to be unapologetically you. So when you go to the conference, I have be you all over the place because I want people to feel free. I don't want them to be scared. But sometimes we got to say, like, keep it real, why are you scared? Let's talk about that. Let's have that conversation. And so in my SEO, I'm trying to ensure that I'm getting reaching the people that want to be helped, that are my people that I can talk to, because when they become clients, they become my family. So that has been one of the beautiful things that's been happening as I'm following up, as I was saying last week, following up with the folks that I had these awesome relationships that got me to here. And I'm bringing, like, for Crystal, she's a fractional CFO, but she's also been an accountant, my accountant, for the last, oh my gosh, like, 8 years. And even for me, every time I watch these videos, I'm like, man, just dropping just value bombs. And so, I would encourage you, and I don't see any questions. I'm here just going over my week. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is just think about that mentality you have of, where have you stated that I'm just gonna okay just to get by, and instead of leaning into your fears. So let me just say this, because I don't see any questions. I'm looking at the monitor here. Let me take off my glasses too, because what I've learned in this last week of leaning into my fears and being honest with where I'm at. I'm not where I used to be, but I'm so much further ahead, I because I'm not where I used to be, and I'm grateful. But there's a saying: you gotta grow where you want to go, and that has been helping me. And when it comes to being a father, a fiance, and I don't give my baby enough credit. Here's my baby right here. Here she go. Look at Grace. Her name is Grace. Grace. She's in the country Kenya, and we be having these conversations. And I'm gonna put in my chat that I love my baby. Let me say, let's say Grace from Kenya, and I need to do a blog on this because she has helped me lean into my fears, because I just didn't want to talk about them in a way that was healthy. And so I want to do a blog about this because when I went to Kenya, my eyes were open to a lot of the things that I was scared from and about. And she has helped me see there's no reason to be scared. There's no reason to lean into your fear, right? Face everything and rise, or you forget everything and run. But why run away from your blessing? And so, as I've leaned into this, grace has, in which is I know God has blessed me with her, just giving me all the love and attention that I need to see how I need to stop going to the places and people that just tolerated me and go where I've been celebrated. And so, as I've updated the way I've done podcasting, I've updated the way I serve my clientele, I've updated the way I show up in digital, I've updated the way I move in these spaces because I just don't want word of mouth on a local level. I want the word of mouth on an international level because helping people has been my God-given talent. And the way I do that is connect people to others. And there's no need for me to be scared about it because I love that. And I'm never scared about connecting people because that's my God-given talent. And I like to see people happy. But the way I do it has changed. And I'm grateful because, and this is where if you can find someone, and for me, she my significant other, Grace, has helped me do that. Then maybe your significant other can do that. But if it's a coach, then find a coach. If it's a therapist, have it if it's a family member. But in my journey as being an entrepreneur, I have always found that my personal demons becomes my business obstacles. And you don't want your business to have any obstacles that you put in front of it, because if you're telling yourself no, how you're going to get to the person that's going to tell you yes if you're saying that person's going to say no, when they may say maybe, you just might need to tweak some things so that you can get a yes. And what I've learned when I have put myself in the position to win, as in being celebrated, not tolerated, I needed to make some tweaks. And so Grace, she has helped me when I've gone to Kenya, not once but twice. Looking forward to going to the next time. I have seen myself go through this change, and with all entrepreneurs, as I'm trying to be real with you and have that conversation. When people say like, Nathan, what's it like being an entrepreneur? Man, it's awesome, but it doesn't mean it doesn't come without pain. And so as I'm watching, this is the last thing I say, as I'm watching myself evolve, I'm like, wow, I didn't know I showed up like that when I watched my videos from like 2 years ago, and I like cringe, right? Which is why when if you look at the chat, I I put myself out there in a way. I'm sorry, when you look at the conference this year, oh, that's funny. I did the sponsor one. What I wanted to do is, let me just give you the actual, let me put it, the nonprofit in here that you can look at and see how, um did it go? Okay, there we go. Like, I sat on my nonprofit like for 3 years to where I almost lost my nonprofit. And as you can tell, I put that in there, y'all, but I, I didn't have my glasses. But you get to see where you can see the join our community. That's where my goal, and let me my I don't need, I'm not gonna read it because I want to close up. So if you have any questions, let me know. Put in the chat before we close out. But my goal is to help 1 billion entrepreneurs close their wealth gap to reach their financial goals. Like, we all have these goals that we want to achieve. But one of the biggest things that I've learned, in order to achieve these goals, you can't do it by yourself. You need other people to help you. And so this is where I'm going to be able to be that person for you. And because sometimes it's not even about a website, as I mentioned before, it's not about SEO. It's about finding good people to help you where you're at. And it's not about being a taker, because you can give as well. You just find what you're good at. And if you're not confident in what you're good at, then yeah, that's something that we can work on. But when I'm realizing what I'm great at is connecting people, but I got other talents as well. Yeah, I can do a website, I can help with marketing strategy, but if I can connect you to the right person, man, my heart is overflowing. And so this is where the connected trust is that very thing. And I'm excited because I've had conversations with people all over the country, not just local, from the country, working on having some international, not to say, oh, we are international, but I'm excited because I know for a fact that we want to connect with others that's going to help us. And it doesn't matter where you're from. When you go to this website, when you go to the community, you're going to find the help that you need because it's about getting connected to the right person. So um, with that, I put it all out there for y'all. That's been my week of just really focusing on not getting by with a lot of things because I do a lot. It's about going where I'm celebrated. So until next time, I wish you nothing but the best. I've got to put on my glasses so I make sure I'm hitting the right button and I'm looking to see if there's anything that I missed. No one's out there. So hey, I wish y'all nothing but the best. So dream big and got